When I think about this guy that tried to shoot Trump, I want to know what happened. And I don't think we're getting a very detailed explanation at all as to how this person achieved these, they got on the roof, how they got to that position, how they trained, who were they in contact with, who was teaching them, why did they do it, what was going on. We are in the dark. And I wonder, there was always the Manchurian Candidate idea.
A case of White Castles at his house. And I took 2 of them. Oh, my God. I ate them Sunday afternoon. They didn't come through my asshole till Monday night. Let me tell you, I had a little stomach ache at night. I wonder what that is. I had a salad today. I wonder what's, Dog, I took a shit. As soon as I smelled it, I go, that's those White Castles. It was such a bad shit, I had to jump in the shower afterward. Downstairs. I just took my clothes off. When I walked upstairs, I got dressed. My wife didn't see me, so when I come back out, she goes, are you going down there? I go, yeah. She goes, do me a favor. Put some fucking litter in the thing. The cat blew it up down there. I go, listen, it wasn't the cat. It was Papa. She goes, what the fuck was that? I go, 2 White Castles. They went right through me, though.
When you look at the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza, there's 2,300,000 stones in it. The whole thing points to due north, south, east, and west. It's an incredible achievement. The stones, some of them were moved from a quarry that was 500 miles away through the mountains. They have no idea how they did it. Massive stones. The ones inside the King's Chamber, but they're the biggest ones are 80 tons. It's crazy. The whole thing's crazy. How did they do that?
You get a gun at a handball court for $50 that shot 3 people. That gun hasn't missed. A motherfucker shot himself. A motherfucker committed suicide long range with those guns. They don't give a fuck. They got guns that don't miss on the handball courts.
The rain towers, how do they do that?
Well, they basically get big cranes and they hoist up grids that are laid with hose pipe, and the pipe comes down the tower to a water tank, and at a certain point, they turn on the pump, and they operate like sprinklers, basically. But if you imagine like a metal grid in the air where every joining point of pipes is another sprinkler head, and I think we had 2.5 football fields worth of, where we could soak at the push of a button. All the rain starts, and
holy shit!
Yeah, because you see I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but there's these big wide shots of all these people running towards the ark, and there's rain falling. So we had that whole area had to have rain.
So here it is.
Yeah, right.
That's incredible. That's all done with towers.
Yeah. Oh, that's after I think I've already run in.
What would happen if Cuba was free?
I think I'd have to call you so you go down there and buy a big piece of it. Start a comedy club down there before they fucking, before Starbucks.
Yeah.
We got to get down there before Starbucks. They're going to want to tear everything down, which takes the glamour away.
Right.
I could see you putting a Hilton and a Four Seasons and, the chains, but you got to leave that. Like when you go to Puerto Rico, you go to Viejo San Juan.
Yeah.
Same thing. You go to Old San Juan, the castles and all that shit. People want to see that. These savages are going to go down there with bulldozers and just bulldoze everything.
Yeah.
That's part of the glamour
charm.
of the Cuba, the charm.
Yeah.
A couple weeks
NYPD
ago.
had a secret fund for surveillance tools. Documents reveal the police bought facial recognition software, vans equipped with X-ray machines, and Stingray cell site simulators with no public oversight. Yikes.
There's a story.
Norm Macdonald and I, just by luck, sat next to each other on flights on 2 different occasions. Just total dumb luck.
Right.
Norm's like, Norm, what's up? And so we're talking, and he's telling me I quit smoking. He's telling me this whole thing about he quit smoking. Yeah, it was terrible. It's the hardest thing I ever had to kick. Yeah, I loved smoking, but you know what? It's fucking terrible for you. I had to quit. So he's telling me about this. The moment we land, he runs into the gift shop and buys a pack of cigarettes, and he's lighting them before he gets. I go, what are you doing? I thought you quit. He goes, yeah, I did, but then we started talking about it. I wanted a cigarette, and he's lighting it before he even gets out the door. Prior to the discovery of ether, anesthesia, in 1846, all surgeries, from minor to major or absolutely radical, were performed on people who were wide awake, oftentimes head down the operating table, held down by men whose only job was to ignore the patient's pleas, screams, and sobs so the surgeon could do his job. Oh my God. Stem cells have been really effective at is soft tissue injuries, tendon repair, things along those lines, and a lot of neurological disorders that people have, especially IV versions. They've done a lot with Dr. Neil Reardon in Panama. Has had some great results with that. And great results. Mel Gibson came in and talked about his experiences with that, and his father. His father was in a wheelchair when he was 80. 10 years later at 90 was walking around.
Right.
And this is after stem cell.
Okay.
It's just, they can do some pretty extraordinary stuff, especially outside of the country, because outside of America has the FDA, and the FDA is very strict on this stuff. But if you can go to Tijuana, there's a place called the Cellular Performance Institute. They send a lot of UFC fighters down there. They had amazing results.
Right.
Amazing. They're shooting them into people's discs and growing disc tissue on people that have disc degeneration issues. It's just we're real close. We're real close to being able to regenerate all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So just got to kind of hang in there.
Yeah.
Hang in there.
If you build nuclear power plants, it's only sort of one step away from building nuclear weapons, and it turned out to be a lot trickier to separate those two things out than it looked. And I think the signature moment was 1974 or 75 when India gets the nuclear bomb, and the U.S. I believe had transferred the nuclear reactor technology to India, weaponize it, and then it turned out it was pretty easy to weaponize.
I don't trust Trump when it comes to something like that. I'm not saying he's a bad dude or anything like that. What I'm saying is Trump's one of those dudes you really don't want to mess with.
It was some sort of a power plant. He's got this very bizarre theory that there was a chamber that exists. If you can see, you see the structure of the pyramid, the inside of it, there's a chamber that's subterranean, and he believes this subterranean chamber was pounding on the surface of the earth and of the walls of the thing, creating this very specific vibration. They had shafts that came down into the Queen's chamber. These shafts, they would pour chemicals into these shafts, and then there was limestone at the end of it. This is all his theory, not mine. The end of it, there was this limestone, which is permeable, right? So the limestone, which is porous, these gases come through and creates this hydrogen that's inside of this chamber. And then there are these shafts inside the king's chamber that are they're getting energy from space, gamma rays and all the shit from space, and then it's going through these chambers, which are very specifically designed to target these gases and put them into this chamber where they would interact with this energy, and he believes it's enough to create electricity.
The best was the night I took a shit in Fabian's backyard after a 5-hour drive from Colton or some weird town.
Didn't he not talk to you after that for a
Yeah,
while?
for a while. I took a shit, and then he ran over it with his car, and the whole backyard smelled like sewage waste. I go over there the next day. He goes, "It smells back here. Let's talk in the house." He goes, "I don't know what happened." And you can see the brown shit. He smushed it with this tire, and a bunch of flies were around.
Violence was a part of how society was kept together. Violence was entertainment in Rome, right? For sure, violence was everything. It was a big part of it. And I think release and the anxiety of that violence also led people to want to be intoxicated and do different things that separated them from a normal state of consciousness. But I do think it's also probably where democracy came from. I think having those Eleusinian mystery rituals where they would get together and do psychedelics and under this very controlled set and setting, I think that's the birthplace of a lot of very interesting and innovative ideas.
You're the first guy that I ever saw that hit a switch and went from having rough sets a lot, you couldn't figure out how to be yourself on stage, to killing. You jumped 5 levels. It was the weirdest thing I ever seen. You figured out how to be yourself on stage. And I don't know what it was. And I've always had my suspicions that it was you got tired of waiting for Hollywood to cast you in something. And you got tired of dealing with agents and holding yourself back. And you allowed yourself to be yourself, the Joey that we always knew in the back bar or in the parking lot. You were always the guy who was making everybody laugh. We would just gather around and talk shit with you.